Hello and welcome. Apparently the Baron of Lauenburg has been a naughty bugger and needs to be punished, and I am all up for it. Innuendos aside, the fourth mission was much more time consuming for me, as this is the first mission that is not as easy to storm through as the first three missions. I did try eventually though, but at first I played it slow and just camped with my troops at the bridge for over an hour while I built up my town. However, then after some hour and a half or a bit later than that, Baron's troops started to pour through the bridge and overwhelmed my poor guys. That made me realize I probably did not choose the most appropriate strategy for this mission and that it would take ages to build back up and win. So I restarted the mission and experimented with couple different ways of attacking early. The most successful one was when I positioned my soldiers a bit farther from the bridge, as the Lauenburger cavalry was always the first one to chase my archer, and the rest of their troops followed after that. The extra distance compared to being right at the bridge provided me enough advantage to actually win this engagement. Enemies waltzed in piecemeal and I was able to dispatch them before they could accumulate enough numbers to overwhelm me. That was most true for the enemy archers, which always came in the last, and this way they did not have nearly as much time to fire on my guys. Still, I probably could have ended up with more surviving troops had I tried the battle a few more times. I have not done so though, as I already spent a bit too much time on this mission, so I was just happy that I was left with an archer to attack the Baron's civilian town with. So that is what I did next. I left that archer in the middle of his town, pelting random workers with arrows. This seemed to have kept his school busy training replacements instead of training recruits for the castle. I kept this up as I rushed the weapon maker and pumped out few militia that I used to destroy the enemy castle and the entire town north of the defensive towers and extra troops he had hidden down there behind them. That extra army was a nasty surprise. At first I thought I might actually finish this one early like I did the second mission in the campaign. But no, developers thought of that and put in that extra hurdle. So I kept building up my town and pumped out an army as fast as I could. Well, I probably spent a bit too much time building redundant food-producing buildings. I guess I could have shaved off some extra time off of the mission by going harder into tools of war production, rather than making my people fat and happy. Regardless of that, I gathered an army in time for Lauenburgers to start sending random small collections of men up north to get slaughtered by my archers. That was a bit annoying and somewhat complicating my plans. I had all my men in position already and hoped to storm the defenses before I would have to feed them again, as I expected to lose most of them in the attack, and stuffing them with food seemed like a bit of a waste. Besides, rotating companies back to my town for feeding would have cost me a lot of time too. Anyway, my army was comprised of bowmen, scouts and militia. Bowmen are really useful in any battle in Knights and Merchants. Scouts were fairly quick to train, as I already had a supply of horses at the start of the mission and the horse breeder was already built at the start, so they were worth the little bit of extra time spent producing the wooden shields and leather armor. Had I gone in with only bowmen and militia, I would have needed way more troops to actually break through. Maybe I would have failed completely regardless of what numbers I brought in. Anyway, the militia was there mainly to serve as bullet sponges for the enemy bowmen and towers, and they did go down quick. My main reason for using so many low-quality troops was that I wanted to get the mission done quickly, and producing extra leather armor and shields to equip the axemen instead of basic militia would have taken a lot more time. and the low quality and relatively low numbers of troops made it more difficult to actually win the engagement for me, and I had to make 2 or 3 different attempts before I actually won. Charging into superior troops hidden behind towers is rather hard in this game, even if you have the superior numbers of archers backing up your melee troops. Either way, I finally succeeded without the need to keep training lots more soldiers. I mopped up the defenders while losing most of my troops and destroyed the tiny second town. To conclude, despite the hopes of finishing early, Mission 4 took me close to 3 hours, because the first Lauenburger town that I managed to destroy early was backed up by a second, much smaller town with storage full of food to feed the soldiers down there, as well as supplies to produce gear and gold for new recruits. Eventually, I did bring the Baron to heel, and he repented and joined my side. More on that in the next episode, where I will sweat bricks trying to protect those useless ass nuggets from cavalry attacks by our common enemies. By the way, I found it funny that during this mission I lost 2 soldiers more than I actually trained, so I won with numbers comparable to my starting troops left. However, I did dispatch almost 3 times my own losses. I am not sure whether the enemy civilians were counted in that number or not though, so my achievement there might be way less impressive than it looks at the first glance. After all, that one bowman and few militia that I used to keep the northern Lauenburger town at bay most likely got some 100-ish ticks on their snuff counter before I finally leveled the place. Anyway, I hope you are enjoying my edited down playthrough of the Shattered Kingdom campaign. The nostalgia is strong with this one for me, and I am enjoying my time with the game even now, more than 23 years after I first played Knights and Merchants as a kid. I think I have over 2000 hours in game between my original CD version that I bought back in 1999 and the Steam version. There is no way to know how many hours I actually put in as a kid, but at this point I do have 1638 hours in the Steam version. So I think that 2000-ish hour estimate for the combined time is fairly reasonable, since I spent a lot of time playing that original version of the game back before Steam was even a thing. Whatever the case, thank you for watching. Please do storm that like button like it joined your enemies in your hour of need, and subscribe to the channel for more Knights and Merchants content, among other games I will post about soon. For now, it is mostly Entropia Universe content and Knights and Merchants content. However, I do play other games too, and will make videos about those as well, including some reviews, tips and tricks, and if I end up having enough time, also lore videos from games where it is applicable, especially for games that are covered less on YouTube, as stuff such as Fallout and Elder Scrolls is covered by many big YouTubers. So I do not think it is worth it to cover the same stuff here on my channel. Anyway, have a great remainder of the day and see you next time.